The Oval Office was unusually quiet, but the tension was palpable. Donald Trump sat behind the resolute desk, papers strewn before him, his fingers drumming in impatient rhythm. Outside, cameras rolled, but inside, the room was a world apart, a collision of ego, power, and imminent confrontation. Suddenly, the door burst open. Ibrahim Traoré, the African president, strode in, face tight with frustration, eyes flashing. "Mr. Trump," he began, voice sharp and unwavering, "this is unacceptable. Your decision to expel refugees without consultation, do you understand the consequences?" Trump's eyebrows shot up, a mix of surprise and irritation. "Traoré, calm down. I'm handling it. Bold action is necessary. Hesitation is weakness. The world respects strength, not caution." Traoré slammed a fist lightly on the table, making the room shiver. "Strength without responsibility is reckless. Do you think millions of innocent people can bear the cost of your impulsiveness?" A tense silence followed. Every staff member, every aide, held their breath. The cameras captured the rare intensity. The clash of two leaders, one accustomed to commanding with ego, the other fueled by outrage and moral urgency. Trump leaned back, a smirk playing at the corner of his lips, but his eyes flickered with a hint of doubt. "I know what I'm doing," he said firmly. "Every leader faces tough choices. Some risk is necessary." Traoré stepped closer, lowering his voice, forcing Trump to meet his gaze. "This isn't a negotiation, Mr. Trump. These are human lives, and if you don't rethink, history won't remember your boldness, it will remember devastation." Trump's jaw tightened. His advisor shifted nervously, sensing the rare moment where authority and morality collided so visibly. Every second dragged, every word weighted with significance. Outside, millions of viewers were watching live, social media feeds exploding with the tension building inside the room. The African president's expression hardened. "This isn't just political posturing. This is accountability. You may think headlines or power matter, but the consequences of rash action will echo far beyond the walls of this office." Trump's hand hovered over the papers, then clenched the edge of the desk. "I can't be paralyzed by fear. Boldness defines leadership." Traoré leaned in, eyes burning. "Boldness without foresight is chaos, and chaos, Mr. Trump, will be remembered forever." For a heartbeat. The room was frozen in silence. Two powerful men, two visions of leadership, one decision about to ignite consequences felt across continents. And in that moment, the audience at home felt the electric tension. The stage was set for a confrontation that would not be forgotten. The tension in the Oval Office thickened, almost suffocating. Trump and Traoré stood only a few feet apart, the air between them charged with unspoken threats and moral urgency. Cameras outside rolled endlessly, but inside, the atmosphere was raw, electric, a collision of authority, pride, and principle. Traoré's voice cut through the silence, deliberate and firm. "Mr. Trump, every refugee you expel represents a life, a family, a story. This isn't a policy debate, it's human responsibility. Do you understand what you're risking?" Trump's eyes narrowed, fingers tapping nervously on the desk. "I understand perfectly. Bold decisions define leadership. Hesitation is weakness. Some choices demand courage over caution." Traoré shook his head, exasperation clear, voice rising slightly. "Courage without empathy is tyranny. You may think this is power, but it's recklessness. Millions are watching, not just the media, not just politicians, but ordinary people whose lives will be altered forever by your actions." Trump leaned forward, his defensive tone rising. "I've faced critics before. I've faced media scrutiny, political pressure, and I've always acted decisively. Boldness commands respect. People admire results, not hesitation." Traoré slammed the table, making advisors flinch. "Results without humanity are meaningless. Every step you take sends ripples across nations. Immigrant families, students, workers, they're watching. They are the real measure of your leadership, not headlines." A long pause followed. Outside, reporters whispered live on air. Analysts debated the unfolding drama in real time. Millions of viewers felt the tension building. This wasn't just another political dispute. It was history in motion. Traoré's eyes locked onto Trump's. "Leadership is not measured by speed or spectacle. It is measured by foresight, empathy, and responsibility. You may act fast, but fast without wisdom is dangerous. Boldness without insight can destroy more than it builds." Trump ran a hand through his hair, momentarily silent. He glanced toward the window, caught in a flicker of doubt, then back at Traoré. I get it, but waiting too long invites criticism. Indecision is visible. Boldness is what defines me. Traore leaned in slightly, his tone both warning and commanding. Indecision is one thing. Arrogance is another. You cannot ignore the consequences of rash action. Each life affected is a story, a responsibility, a moral reckoning. Boldness is meaningless if it comes at the expense of humanity. The room seemed to hold its collective breath. Advisor shifted uneasily. Aware that the conversation had moved beyond politics, it had become a moral confrontation. A test of character. Trump's single quotes as gaze hardened, but his jaw tightened, a subtle sign that Traore's words were penetrating the armor of confidence. Perhaps. There's a point, he muttered, but action is necessary. Hesitation risks opportunity. Traore's voice rose, full of intensity and unyielding resolve. Opportunity without conscience is disaster. Boldness without foresight becomes chaos. Millions are watching. History is watching. And right now, you are deciding what kind of legacy you will leave. Outside, the world held its breath. Viewers on every continent followed the live feeds, witnessing a private confrontation that would ripple far beyond the walls of the Oval Office. The stakes were clear. This wasn't just politics, it was a test of morality, judgment, and leadership under pressure. Every second in that room carried weight. Every glance, every pause, every word made the tension unbearable yet irresistible. And in that charged silence, one truth became undeniable: what happened here would not only define immediate decisions, but also shape the perception of leadership, responsibility, and the balance between power and conscience. The room seemed to settle after the initial confrontation, but the tension lingered like a storm waiting to break. Donald Trump, in that rare private moment observed by cameras, was no longer just the figure on headlines or rallies. He was a man shaped by decades of ambition, ego, and a relentless drive to dominate every situation he entered. From his earliest days, Trump learned that attention was power. Every handshake, every smile, every public statement was carefully calculated to assert dominance. In New York boardrooms, he honed a persona: bold, unapologetic, and loud. Insults became tools, ridicule became armor, and victories were never private. They were spectacles, designed to send a message that no one could overshadow him. The world had been his stage for decades, and he knew exactly how to command it. But beneath the bravado lay insecurities unseen by the public eye. In quiet corners, doubt whispered. Public attention could not always conceal the fragility that lurked beneath the surface. Every insult hurled, every challenge met with defiance, masked personal vulnerability as much as it displayed power. The man who could control headlines often wrestled privately with consequences. His obsession with control extended beyond business and politics into personal life. Every family decision, every interaction, every photo op was orchestrated. Yet even with wealth, fame, and power, the fear of losing face never faded. Every glance at reporters, every smirk toward competitors, reflected a need to assert superiority, to prove that no one politician, businessman, or adversary could dominate him. This drive had costs. Relationships were strained under expectations. Allies questioned loyalty. Advisors feared missteps. Private warnings, whether from Melania, trusted aides, or observers, often fell on deaf ears. Immediate action and spectacle always won over reflection. Yet cracks appeared occasionally. A hesitation, a subtle shift in demeanor, hinted at the man behind the public figure, a man balancing ego, ambition, and the weight of responsibility. And now, in the Oval Office, facing President Ibrahim Traoré, those private vulnerabilities collided with public persona. The room became more than a space for political maneuvering. Every word, every glance, and every pause reflected decades of choices, victories, and missteps. Trump's history of impulsive decisions contrasted with the moral and human stakes confronting him now. As cameras rolled and millions watched, the audience could sense the tension. The traits that built his empire, boldness, decisiveness, and spectacle, were now potential liabilities. Ego demanded action, but history demanded restraint. The interplay of these forces created suspense that viewers felt in real time. They saw not just a political clash, but a human struggle, the collision of instinct and foresight, desire and responsibility. And in the charged atmosphere, one fact was undeniable. Trump's public persona was being tested against his private conscience. His legacy, judgment, and authority were not only on display, they were under scrutiny by the eyes of the world. For the first time, the confrontation wasn't just about policy or politics. It was about character, morality, and whether history would remember boldness or recklessness. Asterisk, the stakes had never been higher. Every micro-expression, every subtle gesture, every moment of hesitation became a study in human complexity. The audience, live and online, felt it, the drama of a man whose choices had shaped nations, now measured against the urgent call for conscience and humanity. Asterisk, while Trump's life was defined by spectacle, ambition, and headline-grabbing boldness, President Ibrahim Traoré's journey had been shaped by resilience, principle, and a deep connection to his people. Born and raised in Burkina Faso, Traoré grew up observing the challenges of governance, leadership, and community responsibility in a world far removed from the opulence and media frenzy that defined Trump's life. From a young age, he learned that true authority came from service, empathy, and the ability to act decisively for the greater good. Asterisk, his early career was marked by dedication and discipline. He faced obstacles that required courage, problem solving, and the ability to make tough choices under pressure. Every decision carried consequences not just for himself, but for entire communities. Traoré learned to weigh each choice carefully, considering both immediate effects and long-term impact. Strength, he realized early on, wasn't about power alone, it was about responsibility. Asterisk, as he rose through the ranks of military and political leadership, Traoré demonstrated a unique combination of strategic insight and moral conviction. He navigated crises with calm determination, understanding that leadership was as much about listening as it was about acting. He observed patterns, anticipated reactions, and built alliances with patience and care, earning the trust of colleagues and citizens alike. Asterisk, the moment came when Traoré confronted decisions affecting not only Burkina Faso, but the larger African continent. His leadership style, rooted in empathy, foresight, and accountability, often contrasted sharply with more impulsive global figures. Yet, this approach gave him credibility and respect, both at home and internationally. Citizens saw in him a leader who acted not for personal glory, but for collective welfare. Asterisk, now, facing Trump's abrupt and unilateral decision regarding African refugees, Traoré's core principles were tested on a global stage. His calm demeanor masked a growing urgency. He understood the human cost of policy and the moral responsibility that came with leadership. Every gesture, every word, every reaction in this critical moment reflected decades of experience, a lifetime of observing cause and effect, and a commitment to justice. Asterisk, the cameras captured every expression, every pause, and every subtle decision. Millions of viewers, from Burkina Faso to the United States, could sense the tension. Traoré's presence was commanding without being loud. His authority derived not from spectacle, but from knowledge, integrity, and moral clarity. His approach exemplified a leader who balanced decisiveness with empathy, action with thoughtfulness, and courage with responsibility. Asterisk, in the charged room, Traoré's calm focus stood in sharp contrast to Trump's impulsive energy. The audience could feel the clash not only of nations, but of leadership philosophies. Here was a confrontation between boldness and tempered by foresight, and strategic action guided by principle. Every word Traoré spoke, every decision he weighed, carried the weight of his people's lives, hopes, and dignity. Asterisk, by the end of the moment, one truth became undeniable. Leadership could not be measured by spectacle or volume. It was measured by insight, moral courage, and the ability to act with awareness of consequences. Traoré's presence was a lesson in the quiet strength of principle-led leadership, a counterbalance to impulsive authority, and a reminder that true power is earned, not claimed. Asterisk. The air in the conference room was electric, heavy with tension that seemed to press on every surface. Cameras whirred, capturing every gesture, every narrowed eye, and every subtle movement. Donald Trump leaned forward, his voice rising as impatience and frustration threatened to spill over. Ibrahim, you don't understand, Trump exclaimed, slamming his hand lightly on the desk. These decisions need to be made fast. Hesitation is weakness. Boldness is power. People respect action, not caution. Traoré remained calm, unwavering. His eyes, steady and piercing, reflected both resolve and moral clarity. Donald, boldness without foresight is chaos. Decisions affect human lives, millions of them. African families, children seeking safety, communities relying on protection. Every action you take carries weight. Do you want to be remembered for courage guided by wisdom, or recklessness masked as decisiveness? Trump's jaw tightened. Mistakes. I've handled mistakes before. Controversy is nothing. I've turned setbacks into wins countless times. I know the stakes. I know how to act. Asterisk, and that is exactly the problem, Traore replied, his voice calm but sharp. Confidence is not immunity. Power without responsibility is dangerous. People are watching, citizens across Africa, international observers, families affected by your policies. Your decisions could either protect or devastate them. Right now, the choice is yours, but the consequences are global. Asterisk, the tension escalated like a storm building on the horizon. Trump's hand tapped the desk with increasing intensity, while Traore's composed posture radiated the weight of experience and foresight. Every word exchanged was measured, every glance loaded with meaning. The room became a battleground of philosophies, impulsive power versus principled action. Asterisk, you lecture me on leadership? Trump snapped. I've led empires, nations. I've faced critics who said I couldn't. I know what I'm doing. Hesitation is failure. Asterisk, Traore leaned slightly forward, his voice steady yet commanding. Knowing is not enough. True leadership considers the impact on people's lives, the ethical responsibility of decisions, and the far-reaching consequences. Boldness is useless if it costs lives, dignity, or trust. Are you ready to carry that responsibility? Asterisk, Trump exhaled sharply, a momentary pause revealing the flicker of internal conflict. Maybe there's a point, but timing is everything. Action is everything. People respect decisiveness. Asterisk, decisiveness without understanding is just noise. Traore responded firmly. People will respect you for the right reasons if your choices reflect integrity, foresight, and empathy. Leadership is measured by how well you balance power with responsibility. That is the lesson of this moment. Asterisk, cameras captured every subtle shift, the tightening of Trump's jaw, the careful calm of Traore, the energy in the room that told viewers they were witnessing more than an argument. Families, students, and professionals at home leaned closer, feeling the weight of the confrontation. Asterisk, the debate had evolved into a demonstration of character. Impulse clashed with insight, ego collided with principle, and the audience could sense the stakes. These decisions would affect millions and shape perceptions of leadership across continents. Every pause, every glance, every measured word drew viewers deeper into the drama. Asterisk, by the end of the exchange, one truth became unmistakable. This was not just a disagreement between two leaders. It was a clash of philosophies, a test of judgment, and a lesson in the profound consequences of power wielded without thought or guided by conscience. Asterisk, the tension in the room had reached a boiling point. Trump's fingers drummed on the desk, a relentless rhythm of impatience and mounting frustration. Cameras whirred, capturing every subtle twitch, every flicker of emotion. Ibrahim Traoré, in contrast, remained composed, his presence a pillar of calm authority. Millions watching at home could feel it, the collision of ego and principle, impulsiveness and measured restraint. Donald Traoré began, his voice steady and commanding. This is not a game of speed. Decisions you make now will affect lives, children, families, communities. Boldness without foresight can destroy more than it builds. Courage is meaningless without responsibility. Leadership is measured not by headlines or applause, but by lives safeguarded and trust preserved. Asterisk, Trump leaned back sharply, exhaling, the tension evident in the set of his shoulders. I get it, Ibrahim, but you don't understand the pressure. Hesitation is weakness. Boldness commands respect. People admire action. Asterisk, Traore's gaze did not waver. Action without consequence in mind is recklessness. Every refugee sent away, every policy enforced without empathy, carries consequences far beyond your immediate perception. Do you remember the families in Burkina Faso, fleeing conflict, seeking refuge? Each decision impacts them. History will not forgive misjudgment masked as decisiveness. Asterisk, Trump's eyes narrowed, a flicker of doubt crossing his expression. Traore noticed immediately, seizing the moment with precision. Donald, this is not personal. It is responsibility. Every life matters. You have the power to protect or harm. Boldness alone does not make a leader. Thoughtful courage does. Asterisk, the room grew silent, the weight of the conversation palpable. Trump's usual forceful energy seemed to waver, replaced by a flicker of reflection. Traore leaned slightly closer, voice resolute, eyes piercing. You were once capable of great empathy, of decisive action guided by conscience. That man can still lead wisely, but only if you choose foresight over impulse. Boldness guided by thought, courage tempered by insight, that is the essence of leadership. Asterisk, Trump rubbed his temples, visibly conflicted, the tension between ego and responsibility playing out in real time. Cameras captured every subtle shift, the twitch of a lip, the narrowing of eyes, the barely noticeable slump of a shoulder. Millions of viewers felt it. This was a lesson unfolding. A private revelation with public resonance. Traore continued, unwavering. You cannot ignore the ripple effects of your choices. Sending refugees away does not just affect policy, it affects human dignity, international perception, and your legacy. History watches those who wield power recklessly. Power is not an end in itself. It is a tool to serve, to protect, to do what is right. Trump's voice softened, almost hesitant. I see what you mean. But how do I act decisively without appearing weak? By acting rightly, Traore replied, voice calm yet firm. By weighing consequences. By understanding that every decision carries lives behind it. True strength is not noise, it is measured, deliberate, and empathetic. Let wisdom guide action. Let foresight temper boldness. That is how you lead. For a moment, the room seemed frozen. The clash of personalities had given way to clarity. Trump's gaze lingered on the papers before him, the gravity of Traore's words sinking in. Outside, the cameras captured every subtle transformation, the tension easing, reflection replacing impulse, thought overriding ego. Donald, Traore concluded, lead not for spectacle, not for applause, not for headlines. Lead for people, for trust, for integrity. Boldness alone will not define your legacy. Thoughtful courage will. Trump exhaled slowly, nodding. The first real sign of internal acknowledgement. I'd understand. I need to remember responsibility. I need to act wisely, not just boldly. Traore allowed a brief pause, giving space for the moment to resonate. Then lead with foresight. Let your actions reflect care, integrity, and courage. History will remember those who act responsibly, not those who act rashly. Cameras clicked, capturing the subtle realignment. Viewers at home leaned in, riveted by the private drama unfolding publicly. The suspense, the moral weight, the human complexity, it was all there. A clash of power had transformed into a demonstration of wisdom and conscience, leaving audiences with a lesson that transcended politics. And as the room settled, one truth became undeniable. Leadership was not about dominance or visibility. It was about responsibility, empathy, foresight, and the courage to act rightly. Millions had watched, learned, and felt the impact of thoughtful, deliberate power in motion, a lesson no headline could ever fully capture. The study emptied, but the energy lingered. Every subtle gesture, every pointed word from the confrontation between Trump and Traore had left an imprint. Cameras continued rolling, capturing the echoes of the intense private discussion, and millions at home replayed the clips in disbelief. Families paused, offices hushed, and social media erupted. Debates, reactions, and speculation spread like wildfire. Viewers were captivated, not just by the personalities, but by the intensity of accountability and consequence. Trump remained seated, a rare quiet settling over him. For the first time in months, perhaps years, he wasn't thinking about optics, media, or dominance. He was reflecting, considering the broader implications of the decisions that had been so rigorously challenged. The weight of responsibility was now tangible, the room feeling larger, every movement more deliberate. His advisors, previously accustomed to immediate action, were unsure how to respond. They sensed a shift, subtle, private, but with potential public impact. Traore, meanwhile, exuded calm authority. Every gesture, every word, was deliberate, a demonstration of leadership through poise rather than volume. The message was clear. Leadership demanded foresight, empathy, and measured action. People at home felt the contrast sharply: chaos versus calm, impulsiveness versus reflection, ego versus reason. News outlets dissected the footage endlessly. Analysts debated, journalists speculated, and social media feeds were ablaze. The audience didn't just observe, they absorbed the gravity of the encounter. It was as if they were witnessing a real-life lesson in decision-making, consequences, and the human side of leadership. Every viewer could feel the weight of each choice, the ripple effects beyond the room, beyond the policies, beyond the headlines. Across communities, the impact was palpable. Young professionals admired the demonstration of strategic composure. Parents recognized the importance of guidance tempered with empathy. Refugee advocacy groups and international watchers noted the gravity of accountability and leadership. Social media amplified the lesson, sparking discussions that went far beyond politics about responsibility, morality, and human dignity. Even Trump's inner circle noticed the shift. Advisors whispered, weighing the subtle changes in posture, tone, and expression. Supporters saw hesitation replacing immediate assertion, reflection replacing instinctive dominance. For the first time, Private counsel had visibly altered the course of action, proving influence could be wielded quietly but effectively. Traore's presence became a symbol of reasoned leadership. His approach, composed and unwavering, demonstrated the power of patience, measured words, and deliberate action. People began seeing him not just as a political figure confronting another leader, but as a representation of thoughtful guidance in moments of high stakes. Families, particularly immigrant communities, found inspiration in the example, set a reminder that calm, strategic intervention could shape outcomes meaningfully. As evening approached, the narrative had shifted. The confrontation, once a private clash of personalities, became a public lesson in foresight, responsibility, and consequence. Audiences weren't just entertained, they were informed, challenged, and inspired. They saw the practical power of measured thought, of courage balanced by empathy, and of leadership defined by insight rather than spectacle. In that quiet aftermath, the message resonated. Decisions have weight, influence has consequences, and true leadership is about responsibility, integrity, and care. The drama had ended, but its ripple effects would continue through conversations, online debates, and personal reflections. Every viewer understood leadership could be taught, modeled, and observed, and the lessons from this encounter would linger far beyond the room, far beyond the moment, far beyond the cameras. The room, once charged with tension and confrontation, now held a different energy: reflection, understanding, and the subtle weight of accomplishment. The clash between Trump and Traoré had evolved from ego-driven debate to a lesson in leadership, foresight, and responsibility. Viewers across the globe had witnessed a rare moment: boldness measured by insight, authority balanced by empathy, and decisions influenced by reason rather than impulse. Traoré stood, calm yet commanding, every gesture deliberate. His words carried weight not through volume, but through clarity and intention. Leadership, he began, is not about who moves fastest, who shouts loudest, or who dominates headlines. True leadership measures the consequences of each decision, considers the impact on those affected, and balances courage with foresight. Trump listened, a rare stillness settling over him. Reflection replaced reaction. The public display of thoughtfulness and measured response contrasted sharply with the impulsive style he often relied on. For the first time, the audience could see that authority was more than visibility, it was a responsibility that demanded accountability, insight, and consideration. Across homes, viewers connected with the message. Families discussed the importance of measured action. Young professionals noted the value of patience and foresight. Refugee communities and international observers saw in the interaction a reminder that leadership impacts real lives, not just headlines. The lesson transcended politics. It was about human responsibility, ethical decision-making, and the courage to act wisely. Traoré's approach illustrated that influence could be quiet yet transformative. Leadership did not require spectacle. It required integrity, understanding, and the ability to guide others without force. The contrast between his calm demeanor and Trump's earlier urgency highlighted that true impact often comes from preparation, clarity, and deliberate choice. Courage, Traoré continued, is not measured by immediate action alone. Strength is not proven through impulse. Decisions shape the lives of people, communities, and nations. To lead responsibly is to act thoughtfully, with both heart and mind. Trump absorbed the words, nodding slowly. The gravity of the lesson was clear. Leadership is not about ego, headlines, or public admiration. It is about foresight, accountability, and the courage to choose what is right over what is expedient. The room's energy shifted. The tension melted into understanding, and the audience could sense the transformation. The moral extended beyond the immediate conflict. Viewers recognized that every leader faces moments of high stakes, but not every leader acts wisely. What set Traoré apart was his ability to navigate confrontation with insight, influence with respect, and hold space for reflection even in pressure-filled moments. The interaction became a blueprint for leadership under stress, demonstrating that thoughtful action often has a greater and longer-lasting impact than rash decisions. As the scene concluded, the takeaway resonated universally. Decisions carry consequences. Influence must be wielded responsibly, and leadership is defined by the integrity of choices, not the speed or volume of action. Audiences understood that courage tempered by wisdom, authority guided by empathy, and insight combined with accountability create lasting impact. In the study and beyond, the quiet lesson lingered. Leadership, true leadership, is about understanding, reflection, and responsible action. And for the millions who watched, the confrontation between Trump and Traore offered a rare, memorable example of influence, restraint, and the profound power of measured decision-making. The confrontation had ended, but the lessons lingered. The room, once tense with disagreement and ego, now radiated reflection and insight. Trump and Traore had shown the world that leadership isn't about impulse or dominance, it's about responsibility, foresight, and courage tempered with wisdom. Millions of viewers had witnessed a rare moment, the power of calm, measured guidance shaping critical decisions. The stakes have been real, people's lives, communities, and international relations hung in the balance. Yet, the resolution proved that thoughtful leadership can steer even high-pressure situations toward clarity, accountability, and lasting impact. For viewers at home, the takeaway was clear. Whether in politics, business, or everyday life, true influence comes from understanding consequences, acting responsibly, and balancing courage with insight. Leadership is not about volume, visibility, or immediacy. It is about integrity, empathy, and deliberate choice. If this story inspired reflection or offered a new perspective on leadership, carry it beyond the screen. Approach challenges thoughtfully, act responsibly, and let every decision reflect foresight and courage. Don't miss future moments of drama, insight, and powerful lessons. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and join a community that celebrates courage, wisdom, and the power of thoughtful action. Engage, reflect, and grow with each story we share. Remember, leadership is defined not by headlines or spectacle, but by the thoughtful, responsible, and courageous actions that leave a lasting impact. Let every choice you make honor this principle, and let every lesson inspire the leader within you.